Helena. And what the first thing we got to do is have a declaration of an emergency. It was our first step, which we went ahead and did on the 7th of October. The only signature we needed on it was mine to get it to the state and Tom's. So then once we got that in, we had an estimate on cost. And this is just an estimate. It's probably going to be higher, but this is the estimate that Circle B give us just to take the hangers out of the trees, lay them on the ground. The city's picking them up. There's going to be some other stuff I think we can claim when we get the bills for it. Maybe some overtime, maybe some fuel, maybe, I'm not sure, but I've got to say the people out of Helena at the DDS were fantastic to work with. I called them on Tuesday after the storm. 2 of them were here the next morning, that Wednesday morning, and went through it with us, looked at it, what it was, helped us with the paperwork. I know we had some other questions afterwards, call them, and I mean, we had answers right now. And I went to the governor's desk and I was guessing a week. It was the next day we had an answer that they had approved it, so.
So we approved it as we wrote it?
This is just an estimate is all.
Okay.
So we won't know what the final one is until we get done with her.
So if we go back, I think the resolution said 2 mils.
Right. And the resolution, we do have to come up with the 2 mills, which we can.
Yeah, the 4,000.
That's the 4,000, but it will be, we were, what, a day late?
About a day or two late.
Day or two late of getting it on this year's
22
taxes.
Gotcha.
So they'll go on next year's taxes. We worked with the accountants. They said we could run in the red on it for the year without a problem with the 4,000.
So when will we find out the amount of state assistance?
Sometime between now and next winter.
Well, so just to verify, the governor approved the request.
We approved the request of our estimate of around 25,000.
So is it fair to expect this number to be close to what they'll supply us?
Yeah, I think as long as we've got bills to turn in that we show that we're legitimate,
Well,
you know.
and we can request more if there's a large overrun, right?
It's 50,000 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we get there, but like I say, right now was the estimate of what we come up with.
And this is, again, just to reiterate, this is just the bill for Circle B,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
not any extra time by city workers or anything? Okay.
So when Mike gets back and we get some more ideas, we'll talk to them again. But like I say, they've been really, really easy to work with. In fact, surprisingly.
So it says discussion on the resolution. Is it something we need to vote on?
Right. So we need to vote on the resolution to apply for our declaration. What's the declaration?
So,
Discussion.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
discussion?
we can't vote on it because it doesn't say vote on the agenda.
Yeah, it was just.
It's just a discussion.
Because
Okay.
it's an
Okay,
emergency
you're right.
declaration.
Yep.
You have the authority.
So it will never be voted on? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike's not here for a report. As I think you've all seen, the crew has been
Busy.
busy. We've been picking up just right at a garbage truck and a half load of limbs every day.
And where are they depositing those?
Those are going to the landfill.
To the, yeah.
Yeah, to the
Green
burn
dump,
pit.
to the
Yeah.
green dump part of it. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we did have to go up the other day with the loader and push a bunch of it in the burn pit because we couldn't get close to the burn pit anymore.
Mm.
It's gonna be a big fire.
I'm not sure how many hours overtime we had in plowing snow,
Yeah.
but we had plows run pretty close to about 30 hours straight between Mike and the crew that weekend.
Wow. Well, I think it ended up being about 35 inches because it was melting all, between them, so.
Yeah, according to what they, officially, we had 28 between the two storms. But it seems like a lot more, but we've got a lot of damage on trees. We finally just taped off and closed the mini part.
Saw that.
I mean, we've got so many trees, I'm not sure what we're gonna have left when we get done with that. Tom, you have anything on? Nothing? Jody didn't, she's just been busy working.
Just finishing the annual report. Trying to get all those pieces, parts in there.
Oh,
That's for the state, right? Yeah.
right. And we do have a new employee in the office.
Oh, yeah, today, was Tracy White's first day.
Cool.
Training for the front desk
Becky?
position.
She'll be good.
Becky's.
So and Becky's going all the way till the 1st November?
Yeah.
So there'll be a crossover
the
period.
month. So yeah, Becky's kind of doing some of that training for the first 2 weeks.
Okay, cool.
And then her schedule will be part-time like Becky said.
Right.
Right now it's scheduled for 30 hours a week.
And she gonna work from 10 to 5 or?
We
Or she
haven't fully decided yet.
decided that,
Right
yeah.
now, we're gonna stick with the same schedule of 9
That's
to 4,
with
an hour
Becky.
lunch. But we may shift that to 10 to 5 eventually, just because of the busy times of the office.
The afternoon seemed to be the busiest. Okay. Steve?
A couple of quick things. Cub Scouts are selling popcorn. If you see them out there in their little uniforms, please consider buying from them. They help support our programs here in Choteau. The governor's office has released a new website, housing.mt.gov, talking about how to finance a house, how to deal with kind of the different applicable financing that's out there, FHA or any type of military spending or anything like that. That's it.
So, and Mel, maybe you know this better than me, but I was asked why the Amber Alert last night was so vague. And what I could find is they usually leave them vague like that when it's a possible dangerous offender. They don't want people going looking for them, they just want to know where they are. So that is probably, from what I could find online at credible sources, why the Amber Alert was vague last night. So that's all I got.
Scared the heck out of me when I went.
Well,
At the
good.
exact same time that my dog got skunked, so it really got me going.
That was for your dog.
Yeah.
Jill?
I just have a question, and Tom, I don't know if you know, or Mayor, if you know. With the library, I was down there the other day, and there's been nice changes with the Friends of the Library, but I was curious with the solar panels in place, like, has that affected the power bills there?
Yeah.
Do you know how much?
Like,
Not yet for sure. It's gonna take a year before we can give you a real.
And they've
But
been up
it's-
for
But this,
9 months.
Yeah, March.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was
yeah,
March.
April's when we went online.
Was it April when they went online?
I haven't
So 6
looked at
months.
it lately, but it's made a world of difference. There is a website you can get on to watch it.
Mhm.
You can definitely tell the cloudy days and sunny days.
Oh, yeah. What's the website?
I'd have to go get it off my
Okay.
computer.
I think we got an email on it too, Joe.
Okay, I
Yeah,
couldn't remember.
there is a website. I can email it to you.
Okay.
Mark?
Just maybe a follow-up, I talked with Jody, and the word from Jen is, I think, for that November 19th meeting, we'll hopefully get to be able to finalize some type of volunteer policy. I mean, I think that's important to me.
Yeah.
To make sure we've got a good policy in place. And I kind of encouraged Jody and Jen to, I mean, a policy can be 7 pages, but the form they need to fill out shouldn't be 7 pages.
Right.
So just make it something simple, you know.
Well, and it's unfortunate that we live in a world that we have to jump through all these hoops.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't mind if the policy is long, as long as the hoop to jump through is not long.
Right, right.
So, and more than anything, I'm interested in having a conversation about what the policy says and those kinds of things. Right now, there's just a lot of unknowns on it, so.
That's the reason we got Alan
Yeah,
coming.
no, that'll be good. I think it'll be a good conversation with Alan, so.
Yeah, no, he's,
That was all I had.
Our next meeting, we're gonna have 2 meetings in November. We're back to normal schedule. Is that
what are we?
right? Calendar's not.
5th and 19th.
Okay, yeah, the next one, got Three Rivers had the site up by the country club where the tower was and the little building that they run their cable TV out of. Well, now that they're done with cable TV, I got a letter today, and we talked before about it. They are giving everything on that site to the city of Choteau.
Is that the one that's just west of the parking lot for the country club?
Yeah.
Just right above Schwitter's house.
Yeah.
Right there. Keith is in process. Well, they were bidding a new tower at the sheriff's office for this enhanced 911. He's pretty sure the tower, that will work up there. Basically, what we'll do is just sign it over to the county. I mean, it's everything that's in the building, the generator. Mike was hoping he didn't want it because he wanted the generator down at county shops, but so got a letter from today that it is all ours now, or will be when we
Finalize that.
finalize it.
Okay, cool.
Other than the normal, yes, we've had with the fiber guys, we did have a meeting. Let's see, it was Friday, been 10 days ago. Mike come in my office on a Thursday and he says, let's get a cease and desist order and tell them out of town. That was after they put about 80 foot of fiber right down in the sewer line up in Pro West.
Oh my God.
So we had quite a mess there. We had the fire department here. We had Three Rivers. We had Northwest Energy. We had the locators. We had JKL here. And you couldn't put a finger on any one entity. They claimed that our marks were off up there. Well, by the time after the snow,
There were no marks.
it was pretty hard to say where our marks were. Really what had come out of the meeting was everybody was going to try to be more responsible for their end of the job.
Did they ever give us an expected end date? I mean, I think it was like yesterday, but I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Where
the
it actually
contract
will
was
be?
was the 9th.
yeah, so last week. So did they give us an updated expected?
They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't
They're
know.
gonna work until the ground freezes too hard for them to work.
Do we know
Right
how
now,
much of it's
they-
done?
What's that?
Do we know how much of the city's done?
They're at the south side and they started at the north end and they're down by
What
my
a
house now.
Yeah,
percentage?
but they're bouncing around there too. I mean, it's,
Well, cause they're right here at the curve going to Augusta too.
I've got the main line in my alley. The drops haven't been put in yet. In fact, they haven't even come talk to me where they're talking about how they're coming in, so I don't have a clue on that end. They are boring more on the south end of town so they can get underneath everything. They did almost get a sewer line yesterday, but they caught it. So I think their JKL's being a little bit more responsible because they were pushing hard to get out of town and they weren't.
Gotcha.
If your mark wasn't there, they weren't even worrying about it. We had one house on one block that every gas line was marked, except there was one house that didn't have a gas line marked. So wouldn't that kind of give you an idea that maybe you ought to kind of check a little bit? And now they just blew right through it. So that was actually the locator's fault, but you can blame JKL.
That was the one the other night.
That was the day before we had the meeting.
So-
One the other night. That was a gas leak over by the park, and I don't know if they found it or not.
Was that from the fiber optic project?
I haven't
It's hard
heard.
to say.
Oh,
Haven't heard.
so do you think they're like 3/4 of the way done, or you?
I would say they're probably 3/4 by now. But the weather, I mean, they're.
Yeah.
And then one of the alarms we had on gas leaks was snow slid off the roof on the warehouse down at the county shop or city shops, broke the gas meter regulator off. So we have a new regulator there. But the other good news is when Northwest Energy or whoever put that meter in, they never recorded it. We haven't been paying gas on that for, but they caught it this time.
So it was the city shop or the county shop?
City shop. So our gas bills are gonna go up at the shops.
Okay.
And I think that's about all I have.
Okay.
Public comment.
Yeah, tonight I'd like to talk to you about the lagoon, the old lagoon.
Point of order, could you say your name?
Oh, I'm Kelly Hirsch, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For the record, yeah. Anyway, I've got an article here from the Acantha on May 29th, 2019. And they recorded 800,000 gallons of effluent going into the old lagoon and only 254 coming out of the old lagoon. So unaccounted for is 546,000 gallons per day, which amounts to about 379 gallons a minute, which is almost 1 CFS. Now, when the city did the work in the old lagoon, somehow they broke the bottom in that, and that's going into the aquifer. And so that's the concern that I have with that. And the other thing is, when they dug that canal around the lagoon, the dewatering canal, they dewatered some wetlands that need to be restored. And I don't know how many acres there are out there, but they need to try to get some of that spring water back to those wetlands. And another thing with the water situation is that your storm drains are connected into that spring creek. And when we get rains and high water or whatever, you should probably be sampling for turbidity and whatever else, BOD, TSS in that storm drain water. But anyway, that's what I come to talk about as a concerned citizen. And another thing is, we're going to be sending about a little over 100 CFS down the river because the reservoirs are full. So you might have problems with water getting into people's basements this fall and winter possibly. So just a word of caution, maybe you want to get something out there. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, Kelly.
Yep.
Thanks, Kelly.
Rich Lusky, I just was gonna ask about the tree trimming, is that, or the
Branch
fall-
pickup?
No, the.
Hanging limbs.
Circle B or whatever.
Right.
Now, is that gonna be all the city trees or is it just select city trees? 'Cause I thought mine made the storm, but the other day, me and Pete were out looking in the top of my house, trees and the very top ones are leaned over. and they're gonna fall out one of these days. I just wondered if you have to get on a list or,
No, they're going street by street.
okay, so they should be able to see it if,
If you got something and they go by and you didn't do anything, why, let them know. But
okay.
they've been up First and Second Avenue 3 times now because
Keep finding more.
they go through and then they come back and they see more. And
Okay, yeah, because I thought
Any-
my trees made it through the storm, but they didn't.
all right, no,
And
it's
way
anything,
higher
any of
than
the
I
city
can get to
trees.
it.
It's none of the.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep, thank
Thanks, Rich.
you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a comment. I guess after listening to Kelly and just watching, well, particularly Dan's response when he mentioned the bottom of the old lagoon being undermined, seemed pretty dismissive about that. That's a fact. I mean, that's a fact that can be verified by emails.
Did you bring them this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
Uh,
We'd love to get copies of those then.
or you still have copies of them?
You know, I think that there's a misunderstanding actually amongst some that anyone who has a concern about the old lagoon site is really bringing that up just to cast aspersions upon the city, and I really don't think that's the case. I mean, I think that we're in this situation as a community largely because of the DEQ and largely because of HKM. And I just, and I really appreciate Mike actually taking me out to the wastewater treatment facility for a tour. It was interesting, you know, no doubt about it. I don't think that the main problem is actually with the facility, with the exception of the forced main being undersized and the fact that that requires extra maintenance and the fact that we had to spend $27,000 for discovery work to determine what was the problem, to diagnose that with a manhole. And I don't know why we're not trying to recoup that from HKM. I think that's entirely reasonable. I understand that, you know, people don't want to get into litigation. I think that HKM wouldn't want to get into litigation. And I don't know why we're not trying to actually get HKM to take responsibility for that error, engineering error, and do something about it. Or recoup some of the costs for the additional maintenance. You know, that's the other thing. But as far as the lagoon site goes, it's a mess out there. I mean, it's a total mess, and it's a huge problem that there's not a comprehensive plan. You know, that's really what my emphasis is, and I know what the plan is. The plan is to not have a plan. The plan is to just keep going like this. The plan is to keep the sludge out in the lagoon and just let nature take its course. That may or may not be a good idea. But I mean, we're talking about getting state assistance, state funding for the situation with the trees. That's great. I mean, I don't know why we couldn't actually apply that model or a model similar to this situation, because, you know, it's largely on the part of the state, the DEQ, that we're in this situation to begin with. I mean, that was the proverbial cart before the horse, the wastewater treatment facility. There were people within the city that wanted to actually address the I&I, to address the groundwater infiltration before putting in the wastewater treatment facility. And I think that would have been far more appropriate. Who were the hydrologists that were involved? I mean, it's the whole point of it is not to actually find fault within the city. There's so many people within the city government, I mean, down to the people that are working in the wastewater treatment facility. Nobody's against the city crew that I know of. I mean, maybe I am sometimes, you know, sometimes people think that, but that's not the case. I think this has been a really bad deal for Choteau, but I don't think it's too late to actually maneuver ourselves to position ourselves better moving forward. It is, there was no comprehensive plan that I know of to rehab the lagoon area. There were some parts of a plan, it seemed, at some point, but it's gone off the rails. And, there's a lot of weeds out there. That, as I'm sure Dan, everybody knows, that's a complex situation to some degree. Those amount of weeds in that sensitive environment. And I think that this isn't an insult to Mike Maples, but I just don't really think we should be putting it on him. He shouldn't be coming up with all the executive decisions. This is too much. It's too much for anyone. And I think the main thing is just to come up with a comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks.
Any other public discussion? Comment? Nothing else.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Oh,